All right. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Just want to get a audio check. Make sure that my levels are good. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. Okay, good. Make sure to like the video, please. That's all I really ask. Just like the video. If you can, I don't mind sharing it. I'd appreciate it. Let me get up here. Alex, I will get to your question that you tweeted at me. Don't worry, I saw it. Okay. Let me do this. As long as you can see the stream well. Let me read the disclaimer. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Make sure to like the video, share it. I'm going to get started here in just about a second. All right. Next is, let me know if you can see the screen clearly. You should be able to. My morning's been good. Very good. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Just get a 1 in the chat if you can see the charts. Yep. Cool. All right. I wanted to go over your question first, Alex, since I knew you were probably going to be in here. This is a discussion that I even had last night about having on this particular setting, and I've been asked this. From what I've gathered from the information from ICT, from basically all the resources, having B-adjust on and not having it on, it's going to give you two different price feeds. From what I've seen from ICT, he has stated that he uses both, and it depends on the criteria of what the chart looks like that he uses it. Because on one chart, it shows that we have all-time highs, and the other chart shows that we're not at all-time highs. If you do go over to the actual 2024 March contract, we are at all-time highs. But when you do turn on the B-adjust, what it's doing is it's adjusting all the continuous contract rollovers together. It's compressing them, basically. From my understanding and what I like to utilize is, in what ICT said, is if the chart, and if you can find targets with the B-adjust on or off, utilize that. So for me, when I have it on, this makes more sense. I can see where the draw on liquidity is. Even when I look at the structure price and the PD raise compared to having B-adjust off, it's completely different. Like for an example in here, if you're looking at this on the weekly time frame, when I have B-adjust on, there's a bullish breaker here on the weekly time frame. Even looking at the inefficiencies in here in price, where I'm utilizing this like last week and the week before with the SIBI in there, if I turn that off, it's not there. I can't utilize it. I mean, It's a completely different price feed, and it's the reason why we utilize the actual contract. But for me, when I look at price and I look at where inefficiencies are, the PD raise, where liquidity is, having be adjust on, it just makes logically more sense to me. So if those who've been asking, that's how I'm utilizing it. If you go to ICT, there's really no clear answers. I've gone inside of our charter member forum. It's a huge discussion. So I'm going to have it on. That's the way I have it on. So if I get any more questions on it, please refer back to this video, because I've been getting that question a lot lately. Hopefully that clears some things to go up over. I know everybody's been asking, because the reason why everybody's asking is because on one chart we're at all-time highs and another chart we're not. Eventually we're going to be at all-time highs, so it doesn't particularly matter after that. But I like having the B adjust on. The price looks way cleaner. Everything looks better and smoother on it. So that's the way I'm going to view it. If you watched the weekly forecast from yesterday, I posted on Twitter. I didn't post on YouTube, so make sure you follow me on Twitter. It's at CJTrades_, because sometimes I post videos on there without posting on YouTube because it's less of a hassle. We don't have any economic news driver events today. It's a Monday. So those two things paired together is not typically high probability. Doesn't mean that there won't be a trade today, there won't be a setup. But coming into a Monday where we've expanded a lot of last week, Thursday and Friday, and we have no news driver events, it can be lower probability in general. Overall, I am looking, at least on the B adjust chart, to reach for the buy side liquidity here, which is resting at 17,706. So that buy side liquidity pool, whether you want to call it all-time highs or not, it's up to you. I'm going to call it that. Just personally, that's the way I'm looking at it today. This inefficiency here on the weekly time frame, when I'm looking at the overall view of the week and the template and what we could do, if we can create a low of the week inside of here, that would be great. But it's pretty far away. We're more closer to the buy side than we are from the inefficiency down here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just gravitate towards the buy side and take that out. If you look at the daily time frame, these two buy side liquidity pools here, that high and the high above it, are the two highs I'm going to be referencing basically all week and looking at. And that's our draw. That's our magnet for the week. So your focus needs to go there. It doesn't mean that I couldn't counter that narrative. Like I could go short today if the setup provides it, but particularly I just want to be longing into that. When I go into a 4-hour time frame, we have a few inefficiencies beneath us, and we've rapidly have displaced. So what are the rules and the criteria around days prior or sessions prior to the session you're currently in? If we've expanded a lot overnight or the day prior or previous days prior, what's really the rules surrounding that idea? Per ICT, we can expect consolidation or seek and destroy. Not always, but it's something to be weary of and keep in the back of your mind, especially on a Monday with no news event drivers. So you have to look at the template and the profile of the day. It's never just the entry pattern. It's looking at what day are you in, what's the economic news driver event, what's happened before, what is the week looking like. So those are things that are going to protect you from taking losses when you come into a session or a day. And when you're by yourself, you need to notate that and put that in your journal coming into a session. Looking at the 1-hour time frame, I mentioned yesterday on the weekly forecast that there's nothing super clear to me because we've gone straight up the last 2 days of last week, and I just don't know if we're just going to continue higher or where there's going to be some type of retracement back into a discount, which I honestly highly doubt. I don't foresee price retracing back into some of these inefficiencies in here. I don't particularly see that. So we're resting inside of this 1-hour inefficiency in here. And since we're overall in a bullish market and we're looking for higher prices, looking for shorts is going to be a little bit lower probability. I'm not saying that you can't, but looking for that would be counter to the narrative, right? So as a newer student, you want to be looking for anything that's in line with the narrative. So even if you see a short setup, even if you see your model forming on a short side, you just don't elect to take it. And especially for a newer student, it's going to help you. 10 out of 10 times, this newer student just staying on side and in line with the narrative is going to 100% protect you. So we've just opened up, and looking at the lower time frames in here, you can see we took out buy side liquidity there coming into basically New York. So we took out buy stops, rallied lower, and we took out sell stops in here. So a bit of a seek and destroy profile. This is just like Monday of last week where we took out both sides. Doesn't mean that we couldn't head higher from here, but it's just something to be wary of. And our focus is on the silver bullet window, which is about 30 minutes from now. So if you're new to the stream, that's what we're going to be focusing on and emphasizing today, especially on a Monday, is looking for that silver bullet window. If you look at kind of the crosses in the index, kind of SMT, we have ES and YM. They both didn't make the lower low along with NQ. So what is that? That is a bullish SMT divergence. Does that mean that is a confirmed bullish, sentiment? Not necessarily, but if you're in line with the narrative, then that could be valid. There is a bearish SMT along with it, where beforehand, I'm sorry, I'm actually incorrect on that. There wasn't. So you can see here right from the open, we're just immediately expanding higher. And that's the reason why I just want to stay on side with the narrative, because if you try to counter an overall bullish market, especially on higher time frames, you're going to get your ass handed to you. That's just the way it's going to happen. And you can see, I bet some people were looking at this as a short opportunity, and they're ran through. So I'd be looking at that as an inversion level if we close above it. And do we want to gravitate towards 17,582, 17,602, and eventually 17,706? Yep, flat with this, what I mentioned. I'm going to be doing a lot of paying attention to the daily candle and weekly. So right now the hourly for value gap is that parent, right? That's what we're rejecting off of. Go down into a 15-minute chart in here. To notate or annotate, we're going to do the RTH gap. So this was Friday's close. This is today's open. So we've opened up higher, leaving a RTH gap underneath us. So it's something to annotate and keep in the back of your mind. I actually can leave that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete those lines, and then I'm going to move over the RTH. So if you're new here, that's primarily what I do. What I'm going to have is just the 5-minute on the right for now. And I'm going to go down to a 1-minute on the left chart here. So right from the open, we took out sell stops underneath here. Since then, we've been rallying higher. So if you feel any type of emotion of fear missing out, or you're upset that you missed this move, I mean, you have to ask yourself why that is. No, Marco, I have not. So 17,582 has been delivered into. Unless you're positioned in before the open, I mean, nothing really in there. Don't forget the macros. Yep. I don't know if you're on the live stream on Saturday. I mean, I was making that emphasis on my own journal, and what I'm looking at going into this week is just paying attention a little bit more to the macros and kind of the framework around that time period and seeing if something aligns. If you're new here or just got here, make sure if you can like the video, share it. I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Dan, for the tweet. I appreciate you. Good morning, Kabala. CJ, do you only trade the silver bullet? Yeah, I mean, that's the emphasis of these streams is to look at the silver bullet and teaching you guys to pay attention to that. I mean, ICT has put a huge emphasis on that, especially for the newer students, even for myself. I mean, look at the opening. I mean, unless you're extremely experienced and you have a lot of knowledge and you have a lot of confidence, coming into an opening, especially off a Monday, and trying to trade the first 30-minute window, you're probably not going to get it correct. I mean, there's going to be times when you miss moves like this and you're upset where, you know, you could have seen the buy side been delivered. But if you have enough data and you have enough statistics surrounding the idea, you've gone back testing, forward testing, you've seen Silver Bullet deliver week after week, after month, after year, and you've seen that, you have no fear because you know when that Silver Bullet comes around, more than likely your entry pattern will form. Whether or not it was the draw on liquidity that you were initially looking for, it may be a different draw on liquidity that you're not looking for. But you know with the silver bullet, if you wait for the time, you have the discipline to wait for it, the patience, your model is going to deliver in it. That's the difference between an inexperienced trader and an experienced trader, is you have enough confidence with forward testing, back testing, and enough data that you don't fear missing anything because you know with confidence that your model will deliver. And that's something that only time and experience can really forge you. The reason why everybody asks, why are you so patient? Why are you so calm? It's because I have experience. I don't fear missing these type of things. And that's what I'm trying to lend all of you, is just to chill out, wait, be patient. Roosta, very good to hear, brother. I hope it's a big help. It was a huge help to me, and I hope the Saturday live stream gave you a little insight to what the book kind of holds. I went pretty deep on psychology on Saturday, so check that out on the live stream. ICT has not stopped in yet. I've been deciding if I want to change my name to Kayla Trades and put a wig on, and maybe he'll stop on by. Seems that he loves the women traders. I think he's got something against us men. It's all jokes, by the way. I know he doesn't. It's just women are less frequent in this space, so. I guarantee you though, if I changed my name and I put a wig on, I bet he would stop in. No, without a doubt in my mind. Yeah, Russa, definitely do so. I went over all my notes from the mental game and trading. So what I want you to observe right now is I want you to observe ES and YM and NQ. So I want you to observe kind of the correlation between the three right now. This is what a semi-decoupled market looks like currently. Typically this happens off the open on a Monday where the three indexes are not always in sync with each other. So you can see NQ has made a significant retracement lower while ES and YM are all spiking up higher. Yeah, I mean, I think women traders are just a minority inside of this community. I mean, it's basically all men. So, I mean, I give big props to them, and he tries to hype them up and support them, which I got nothing wrong against it. I think us men, we just, if there's a woman competing against us, it's, we take it fragile to egos and we want to beat them and, be better than them, which there's nothing wrong with that as well, as long as you keep it friendly and, you're not out there saying mean things to them. So do you guys see the correlation right now between them three? Put a 1 in the chat if you're paying attention to SMT and you're looking at the correlation. Are you looking for longs or shorts today? I mean, it just depends on the session, what it gives me. The narrative is bullish, but it doesn't mean I can't counter the narrative. I'm aware of the profile that we're in because we are on a Monday, no news event drivers, coming off of 2 very large range expansion type of days. So we've just went up and tagged buy side again. So you can see how YM is much higher, and same with ES than NQ is. So in these type of conditions, it's either A, NQ is leading the pack of the three, and ES and YM are kind of lagging behind it. So you have to wait and see, is that truly the one that's making that? You can see NQ just made a new lower low while ES and YM are nowhere near this low in here from basically pre-open. So pretty decoupled market. You can see in here some people would have tried to go short in the beginning, post open, trying to go long in here, chasing that rally higher. Now they're going short. Waiting for that first 30-minute window is going to protect you way more than it's going to help you. I promise you. You don't have to fear these type of things. So remember the RTH gap, we're trading back down into it. This type of RTH gap we may want to fully close in. And this new week opening gap down here, we may want to gravitate towards that depending on a few things today. Yeah, dollar index has just been kind of stuck in the mud. Anytime dollar index is consolidating, you can disregard it at times where it's not as much useful information for indexes, futures. So dollar index can be in consolidation while these are allowed to move higher or lower. Doesn't always need to be in sync with it, but it is useful and helpful. Not necessarily. It just depends if what the narrative really is. Yeah, correct, Marco. So like, look how YM is making a new higher high, while NQ is making a basically new lower low, and ES is stuck in the middle. So that's a decoupled market. That's when you need to be weary and be like, all right, something is off here. That means it's probably highly manipulated, and one of them is going to eventually be the real move. So meaning that either YM will get into sync with NQ, start heading off lower, or NQ will start moving back into sync with YM, and ES will rip off higher, NQ will rip off higher. So that's where decision making, weighing options comes into play, and you're trying to determine that as an analyst. To me, it's highly manipulated right now. Off the open on a Monday, I'm not in a rush. You have to think of, if you can think in terms of I hate saying this, a dumb money perspective, retail, what they're taught. I mean, coming into a Monday, a brand new trader, they see these giant moves happening. They're just trying to chase all this. They're trying to put all their money into this right off a Monday. First 15 minutes, somebody's already ballooned, multiple accounts. You have to think in that perspective: is what are they trying to do to these people? You have to follow basically the sheep. You have to follow what they're doing and counter it and do the exact opposite actions as what they're doing. And for me, how do I counter that? Just being patient, staying on the sidelines, waiting for something to trigger me into the market. And I gently squeeze the trigger. Yeah, correct, Marco. I mean, that's what's happening right now. ES and YM are both going in the same direction, while NQ made a new lower low. Who's getting harmed? Who's getting tripped? Who's getting manipulated? Yeah, you have to ask yourself these questions. I mean, what would most 90% of people be doing right now? They'd be chasing all of this. Most 90% of people are not doing what I'm doing. Is just chilling out, waiting for time. Time will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you if you just let it. Meaning just let time play out. Good to hear, Marco. It's main focus of these live streams is to help people and lend my experience as much as I can. Could be a possible Judas swing form. Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of manipulation already today where we've ran above buy side, drop beneath sell side, ran above buy side, drop beneath sell side. That's a seek and destroy profile. Doesn't mean you can't get in here and get a couple, scalps, but to me, that's a lot harder to predict than just waiting for one-sided, clearly moving towards a draw on liquidity. Because in here, I don't particularly know. We could just be taking out sell stops again to rally higher, or we could just be retracing to drop off lower. I don't know. And it's perfectly okay to say you don't know. Like, just because you understand these concepts and you know the algorithm does not mean that you know where price is going 100% of the time. It's okay to sit there and be like, yeah, I just don't know. And what you do is you wait for more time and more information to come in, and that'll help clear up your decision making. So far, ES and YM are still heading higher. We have a bullish SMT. Just have to see if that is going to hold or if we just move into consolidation and seek and destroy. Prices came down 25% of the RTH gap. Yep. And kind of pair with the idea if you're trying to short. I mean, we're in an overall bullish narrative, so shorting something that's going against the narrative of the higher time frames, which are the parent, I mean, that's a lower probability setup, as I've discussed before. So I mean, 50%, 25%, yeah. I mean, oversold is, that's, if the market wants to gravitate towards the higher prices, being oversold is not, it's not really a thing. Tuna, that's, I mean, it's a question I get a lot, and same with ICT. How do I know which fair value gap to enter off of? How do I know which direction it's going to go? If you sit through the live streams and you watch what I'm doing and pick up on the certain things that I constantly refer to back and forth, which is using the SMT chart, using intermarket relationships, using higher time frame narrative, using time, all of those are going to help you pick a right fair value gap. Doesn't mean always, but it's going to help you. Most of the time, what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out when not to enter versus when to enter. Do I do this every day? Yep. Yeah, I mean, entering into all-time highs may be more difficult, quote unquote, to analyze, but it's still the same thing. As long as I have time, that's all I care about. So ES is making a new high. So what I want to do is, what I mentioned over the weekend for my journal, is I'm focusing on this macro in here. So when I can go back in the live and be like, all right, what was I particularly looking for during that macro? I'm going to listen to myself. Notate to myself currently what I'm seeing during this macro. We have a bullish SMT. We have ES moving off higher. We have YM moving off higher. We could potentially see a new high be formed again. Only thing that would make me weary is we've ran this high once, twice. Fairly large wick in here on the 15 minute, so it would make me weary of trying to long. And that is a note to myself for future. 1 minute in here that can be turned into an inversion if we close above it and we come back down into it. You don't use the silver bullet. The application has confused me. I mean, it's a fairly simple concept. I don't mean to be rude. It's just, I don't know how it would confuse you. It's a 1 hour period of time that you wait for particularly a fair value gap that targets a certain draw on liquidity. And the reason we're focusing on that time is because the first 30-minute window can be highly manipulated. So waiting for that first 30 minutes to pass and just focusing on 1 hour, all you have is 60 minutes in a trading day. And that's going to reduce a lot of mistakes, a lot of losses, and it's going to make things easier for you. Can I switch to the 2-minute time frame? Sure. So you're probably looking at that fair value gap in there. To me, we've taken out buy side and sell side 2 times now. So the only thing I can really support is we have an underlying narrative which is bullish with bullish SMT. I just don't know if we're going to make a new high again or we're going to drop off lower. I can guess. I could just put a trade in there and just guess. I could do that, but I'm not going to do that. So we haven't yet closed above it. We've wicked above this fair value gap in here, but we have not closed above it, so you can't treat it as inversion just yet. It's just something that I'm looking at as a potential. And then do we draw up into this premium Sibian here? I kind of made a note over the weekend to put a little less emphasis on the chat. I'm going to try not to look at the chat so much because it can really drain my energy and my focus. I saw a lot last week where I was paying attention to the chat and I should not have. But I don't want to make the streams necessarily boring or less, like I want to make them educating. I want to make them at least entertaining to a point where you're watching them, but even for myself, I have to maintain focus. So even though we closed a little bit above it, again, I don't have enough evidence to long or short this thing. There's too little information in here. So you can see that ES and YM are starting to make some little retracement in here. But this type of session, I mean, this is pretty damn manipulated. First 30-minute window for NQ, at least. I got you, Roosta. I mean, there's some really good students, man, that either don't talk, they don't say anything, and they just listen. And I'm not saying that, you know, it's bad to ask questions, but sometimes just to sit and just listen, man, that's the best thing you could do. Not always be talking and active. Just listen. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So this is still a Sibian here. That's what I treat it as. And if you look at the 15-minute as well, look at the bodily closures of this fair value gap in here. Bruno, yeah, I mean, that's perfectly okay as I just described. I mean, even myself, I don't particularly know. I have to wait for more information. Like, look at that open here on the 15-minute. That's pretty wicked. It's right at the silver bullet open. And it's I forgot to notate, as I've already said, it's okay not to know the move. It's okay not to know where the draw on liquidity is. Sometimes you just you just don't know, and sometimes you have to wait for more information to let you know. And the best thing to do is not to force it, not to get upset that you don't know, because that's just either a lack of experience or just a lack of information that you currently have. And that's, you know, ties into psychology. Is sometimes you'll get upset because you expect yourself to know where the draw on liquidity is, which that's kind of a false illusion. Is you're not going to know where price is going all the time. And if you expect that from yourself, then that's an unrealistic expectation of yourself. And then you're going to be fighting the idea that you're upset because you think you should know, when in reality that's not true. That's not that's not right. You don't need to know that. Because I can see both sides clearly. I can make a case both sides very clearly. And if I can make a case for both sides, then it means to really do nothing. Like, if you've been on these streams, it's a very broken record with me, like over and over and over again. Oh yeah, I appreciate the likes. I mean, we're at 356. Seems like pretty on par for what we've been doing. But anybody who's new, appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, tuna. I mean, that's a huge psychology tip. Is basically is you have this illusion in your mind where your skill set, you think where your skill set should be at, or where you think it's at, and then there's reality, and they're completely two different things. And then you get pissed off because you're stuck in the middle of those two. So to go off of that tuna, I wanted to make a slight drawing in here. So I don't see anything currently. Like, this is your expectation and what you think of yourself, and you think that you should know where the draw on liquidity is. You think that you should know where everything's at, never take a loss. And then here's you. This is your actual skill set. It's down here. And what happens is, inside of all of this, you're upset because you believe that you're up here, when in reality you're down here. And then in the middle, you're getting upset that you believe that you're here, when in reality you're down here. So you have to figure out, you know, really in reality where you're at. And sometimes it takes humbling to be like, you know what, I'm not as good as I actually think I am. Just fine. You don't need to be this rock star, all-star. All you need to do is find a certain setup within a time window and have really good risk management. So we're inside of that macro still. As far as it looks like we're going to want to head towards the sell side. But there's nothing in here in real time that would have told me to long or short this. I could have made a case for both. So the 5 minute, there was a fair value gap in here. So we've taken buy side twice now. We have a bullish or a bearish SMT. But this is kind of what happened on Friday of last week, is me trying to short when we're overall bullish. Just really not trying to do that today. Yeah, Marco, that's kind of what I'm seeing today. I mean, even though there's some large expansion of the ranges, it's still highly manipulated. I mean, I could have seen how my older self would have taken many losses today already. And when you have, looking at the previous days, on Thursday, Friday, huge run-ups, and then even today, the opening on Sunday, I mean, we expanded even higher again. So coming into a Monday session, you can expect consolidation or like a seek and destroy profile, as we're kind of getting. Tuna, yeah. I mean, sometimes I've had to come to that realization as well. It's like, man, I'm maybe not as good as I think, but you still encourage yourself and say, you know what, as long as I can have a decent win rate, have really good risk management, and I know I can improve upon my skill set over time, then that's all I really need. I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to be this amazing analyst that is always correct all the time, because that's just a false illusion. Like, if you see these live streams, majority of the time, all I'm talking about is psychology, because that's 90% of the time, if I'm by myself, what's running through my head. Like, all the things that you've learned about psychology, all the ICT spaces, the books you've read, all of that will come out during your live sessions. You have to constantly talk to yourself, because you're basically your own coach. You're the person who's coaching this team. Because if not, then who's coaching your team, right? Are the markets coaching you? Are the markets telling you what to do? Or are you telling yourself what to do? CJ's coaching me. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, you have to keep psychology your number one focus all the time. All the time. It's the number one most important thing in the world. The only thing that you can control is yourself and your risk. That's the only two things that you can control. I have it on a whiteboard right in front of me, because in the end of the day, that's the only thing I can control. Now, if you're asking why I don't want to short this, I am not fond of this price action today. I don't want to do anything with it so far. I mean, my experience is telling me to just sit still and do nothing. That's what my experience is telling me to do. And that's, what's funny is I listened to a space of ICT over the weekend, and he was talking about contrarians, and if you're like that, then it's okay to settle into that idea. As if a contrarian is basically going against what everybody else wants to do. If everybody's longing, you want to be the one shorting at the very top, which is not a bad personality trait. That's just who you are, and you have to kind of mold yourself into that and be okay with it and figure out what works for you. For me, I'm not a contrarian. I very much like to be with what the narrative is doing, and I like to be in sync and flow with it. That's just who I am. So my experience told me to sit still in here and do nothing. I could have seen how some people would have chased this off short and try to keep shorting this. This doesn't look good to me. So that's the reason why I'm sitting still. I'm doing nothing. I think there's the whole week ahead of us. And if something's not super crystal clear, like, man, I want to jump into this market, then I'm not going to touch it. We've talked about last week how I've made the analogy of mental capital tokens, where you only have so many that you can spend in a week. And sometimes you have less going into a week because the week before was very damaging to you and you spent a lot. So you're coming into the week kind of fatigued. You may not know it. You think you're refreshed, you're recharged, but in reality, that's still carrying over from the last week. So for me, I'm looking at it and going, okay, I have the whole week. I have 5 days to trade. If something on Monday is not super crystal clear to me, then I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to touch it because I don't want to spend a mental capital token on a 50-50 setup. I want to spend that thing on something that's really crystal clear to me. It's easy. That's the best way to spend those tokens. It's like going to an arcade room and you're looking at the machines and you're saying, all right, I got 3 tokens and I want to play the best machine with the best games. To me, that's how I'm viewing the market. Is that an IFEG? Not technically, it's just a reclaimed SIBI. So we closed above it a little bit in here, but the order flow is bearish, so we're just coming back up as a reclaimed fair value gap. If we were above it and then drop back down into it, that would be an inversion, but we're not above it, we're beneath it. So just because we utilized it, dropped beneath it, came back into it, that's not an inversion, that's a reclaimed. Romer, thank you. To be honest with you, I don't know if that's... I'm pretty sure ICT's talked about that, but I'm not sure if I just kind of put my own emphasis on it. Find it 908. Yeah, I mean, I could make a case for both sides right now. I mean, we have relative equal lows in here. We've taken out sell sides. So looking at a 2022 perspective, we've taken out buy side. We dropped lower. You could see a shift in market structure here. Return to a fair value gap to short. On the flip side, you could see a rate on sell side, shift higher, return into a fair value gap to go long. So in these instances, I'm just waiting for more information. If we dug up higher, probably above the buy side here, then I would elect to believe that at that point we may want to go into this higher premium fair value gap. If this is treated as an inversion, I know I have that as an inversion, I'm sorry. Then I may be able to get into line with some higher targets. And I'm not necessarily in favor of shorts because the narrative is still bullish, so I have to stay in line with what the parent is telling me to do. Chris, like right now, if I was by myself, I'd probably just be, like, I'm still present at the charts, but if not, either I'll be, sometimes I'll do like sketches. ICT's done this where you'll just have like a notebook next to you and you're just drawing. I just try to keep myself at least occupied to where I'm not bored, because boredom will lead to you trying to overtrade. If not, I'll scroll Twitter, social medias, but even that can be a little distracting, so I try to stay away from that. I have a fidget spinner, if you guys know what that is. Sometimes I'll just sit there and play with it, and just, that ICT has said he plays with a deck of cards. I'll just shuffle them back and forth. But like, if you guys hear that, it's a fidget spinner. I know it's like an old thing, but it keeps me preoccupied. It keeps my focus. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing. Is boredom is a huge psychology thing as well. Is you just become bored and you're like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna do something. I want a little bit of action today. I want some dopamine. And that's not you following your rules. That's you trading out of boredom and a lack of discipline. Tuna, I don't. As soon as basically the silver bullet's done, I close the charts and I don't look at them until probably tonight. Because I have enough experience to where I don't need to go back into back testing and look at all of that. If I'm newer, then yeah, I would probably be dedicating a little bit more time. I mean, at one point in time, I would spend 12, 16 hours a day on these charts. I mean, I was a little bit of a maniac, and I don't even suggest that. It's unhealthy. I think the healthiest relationship is to treat this as if it's just a part-time job. And that's why the silver bullet is so beautiful, is you spend 1 hour a day looking at the charts, you close them off, you go do about your day, and then you come back to it at night, you analyze what happened, journal it, report what you think is going to happen the next day, and then go to sleep and wake up and do it again. I didn't say the narrative is bearish, bullish. Any suggestions on taking partials prematurely? Yeah, so that has to do with you being attached to unrealized profits. So what's the difference between unrealized profits and realized profits? Well, realized profits is money that's in your either trading account that's finalized. It's not, you know, fluctuating back and forth. And unrealized profits is profits that are fluctuating on the screen. And a big thing that Jared talks about is if you are taking out of your trades prematurely, either A, you believe that those profits are already yours when that's not a reality. So in the trade, you believe that those profits are yours, and anytime the market retraces back on you or stops you at a break even, you become upset because you believed that those profits were yours because you had it quotation in your trading, you know, position. But that's not true. Those profits are not yours until you close that trade. Even until you withdraw out of your bank account or out of your trading account, then those profits are yours. That can go in even with drawdown. You can become upset because you were up 2% and then you lost it. You're getting attached to unrealized profits. You're believing that those profits were yours. And that's not true. That's a false reality and illusion that you're colliding with. This whole book is, I'm telling you, I can't recommend it enough. I mean, I have a note in front of me on a post that says that money is not yours. So if I'm in a position and I start fearing like, man, I want to take profits right now, and my target has been reached, I repeat to myself over and over, that money is not yours. That money is not yours until it's in my bank account. And I'm like, okay, chill out. I mean, there is a difference between taking partials and protecting yourself at logical levels when your system tells you to do so versus you emotionally doing that. Justin, can you link it, please? I appreciate you. Beth, not necessarily. Sometimes you can start off the week with a bullish narrative and it, you know, gravitates higher for first few days, and then sometimes Monday sets the low of the week. So the weekly templates, sometimes you have to figure out with narrative what it's doing. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I ran into the week with extremely bullish narrative and it set the low of the week on a Monday. Ideally, you want to set the low of the week on a Tuesday or Wednesday for a bullish environment, and then, you know, gravitate higher Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I mean, intraday is bearish, but the narrative is bullish on higher time frames. So you, as a newer student, I always say to just align yourself with the higher time frame narrative. But it doesn't mean on lower time frames I can't counter that narrative. It just means that sometimes that's going to be lower probability because you're fighting that parent order flow. You're fighting that. But sometimes, if you know the beginning of the week, the template, it may want to set the low of the week on a Monday or Tuesday. So you go into the day thinking, okay, well, we may have a lower retracement intraday, lower time frames, where I could take a short setup. But then I have to get back into line with what the parent is doing. Tuna. Good to hear. I mean, yeah. If you can learn anything from me, it would be psychology over technicals. But I'm well versed in both, obviously. But if I had to put an emphasis, I'd be more well versed on psychology. That's gonna serve you much better. So I believe, to me, just looking at the chart and what's happening, I mean, look at the 15-minute fair value gap in here. No bodies have closed above it. We have a bearish SMT. We could run for the sell side in here, but I'm not fond, nor do I have an entry or signal to get into the market. If the 1 hour closed beneath this BISI in here, then it may want to close off lower in here and reach for the lower fair value gaps, but that's where I'm just electing to do nothing. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, if somebody's not talking about psychology during a live session, then, I mean, look, go back to ICT's live streams. That's literally all of his live streams, is him preaching about psychology, like, the whole time. It may not sound like it or feel like it for some, but that's what he's doing. Like, this is all just a head game, man. It's you against you, and it's constantly trying to weigh decisions and control yourself. So if you look at YM, ES, and NQ in oh, let me do this. So you can see how, let me go down to 5 minute, probably a little bit more clear. Look at this high relative to YM and ES. So these both made a higher high here, while NQ at this high there. And at that time, NQ is making a lower high. So these are both making higher highs, right, while this is making a lower high. That's a bearish SMT. Looks like NQ is the weakest of the three. That's the weakest. So looks like ES to me would want to clean up the sell side in here just from observing it. NQ would want to gravitate towards the lows there. And YM may want to drop off a little bit lower. Luca, I mean, that's great, man. This is what I trade. There's going to be times when NQ is moving beautifully, and I could say the same thing to you. So, I mean, I stick to one asset class. But this is something that I'm anticipating coming into the day, is, as I've already described, is coming off of a large range expansion the previous week, and even coming off the Sunday Open. You have to anticipate that, because those are rules set out by ICT himself, where you anticipate consolidation so you can short profile. I mean, that's a template, a rule set that I have, and you observe with your own eyes. I've always traded indices? No. I traded Forex for the first 3 years of my trading career. I'm very well versed. I went back to Forex last year when I wasn't fond of NQ and the other indexes. I know Forex very intimately. It's just something I'm not trading right now. Nor, I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but I don't think Forex is even clean at all compared to indexes. I mean, maybe intraday today it may not be as well, but I mean, if you look at the higher time frames, Forex looks like ass. The 905, yeah, I mean, that is a rejection block. But again, rejection blocks, any PD array has to be in line with whatever the lower time frame narrative is or the higher time frame narrative is. But yeah, you are correct. Yeah. And yeah, even for Forex, I mean, we analyze the dollar index, so you can trade euro very confidently if you're trading dollar index, or at least analyze it, because it's just a reverse correlation to it. I mean, the algorithm and these concepts, they all work the same no matter what. It's just the times is a little bit different. Forex is a little bit, the time kill zone is a little bit beforehand. Nor does it have an open. So that's why I like futures a lot, is because the open, there's immediately volatility. And with Forex, sometimes there's no open in it. So it's very slow and lethargic at times. But Forex treated me very well. I've traded basically every single currency throughout my years. Primarily it was EU and GU. So we're probably going to take out the sell side in here. From there, I just don't particularly know. I don't know if we're going to have a deeper retracement from there, or do we expand higher. I'll just wait for probably tomorrow or the next day for a more clear view. And on these days, it can feel like you wasted time and you know, this is not what trading is, not what I signed up for. But I mean, this is the reality of it, and this is, sometimes it's just extremely boring, and it's not all the highs that you see. Why don't I trade indices? Because I'm with a futures broker or prop firm. So there's the sell side delivered. I mean, I wouldn't really want to be a part of that move. I mean, if you're entering in here or there, I mean, that took a long time to deliver to it. So you can see that NQ is making a complete new low, while ES and MYM are not even relatively close to their lows. So it's still completely decoupled. It could be heading to the new week opening gap, but I mean, I don't have enough information currently to work with it. It would be nice in terms of visualizing a daily time frame, is if this turned out to be a semi-bearish candle with a wick in here, it forms a bullish fair value gap in here. Then tomorrow, Wednesday, we set the low of the week inside of it and hide higher into those buy side liquidity targets. You can't check the RTH gap on indices. There is none. That's why you have to utilize futures feed. So if you look at the new week opening gap and you go down to lower time frames, it's much like how the RTH gap is open. There's no trading that's been done inside of it, so it's like a liquidity void. They may want to reach for that to close that in. But there's nothing in here that I would particularly be fond of, nor do I want to stretch this out and try to look for even lower targets just because we're moving off lower. Sorry, what book was that you just recorded? I'm pretty sure you're referencing the mental game of trading. Man, I should get an affiliate link because how often I mention that book. So there's ES getting into sync, and same with Dow. And that's what you want to see in a favorable condition, is you see them all doing the same thing, and they're not separately doing something. Only 1 hour, there's a couple discounted inefficiencies beneath price. If it really wanted to sell off, let's just play devil's advocate, it really wanted to sell off today, then it would want to reach towards those inefficiencies down here, at least this one. When you look at the daily candle, power of 3, open, high. If we set the low down here, then close. But just have to see. We got about 30 minutes left or so of the silver bullet. So we completely closed in the RTH gap now. So that was another confluencer draw, at least lower today. So the next macro in time that I'd be looking at is at 9:50 my time to 10:10. I'd be looking inside of that macro, that window, to see if something would entertain a trade idea. Otherwise, I'm done for the day and we move on to tomorrow. It is. Let me see. So August, January, and December are lower probability trade conditions. Summer doldrum typically is August, is a little bit slower, and then December and January they can be a bit slower. But I mean, typically anybody that's saying that right now we're not moving, I mean we're moving a lot right now for January, especially in indexes. I mean we're doing 200, 300, 400 point days, which is crazy. A clear model you expect every time you see the charts. I mean, that's such a vague question. What broker to use? I mean, I'm with my funded futures and I use Rhythmic through them. shot here. I went over that today in the live stream. If you go back, it's the difference between being attached to unrealized profits and realized profits. You believe that those profits are yours when in reality they're not. So you have to understand why it is that you think that those are yours. Because floating profits, or even profits that are in your trading account, are not yours. Until you withdraw them, until they're in your bank account, they're not yours. So you have to figure out why it is that you're attached to that. Yeah, sometimes tuna that the macro just doesn't do anything. It's not a guaranteed like 20-minute window it's going to do something. It's just a confluence to look for. If you have something that meets the criteria, you can see that price would want to move, then yes, the macro will be helpful. But the macro is not a guaranteed. It's not 100% that it's always going to move. I mean, you saw today that it really didn't do much. So I'm not heavily on the macros, but it's something I do pay attention to and I'm aware of when I'm in a session. Do I think the I don't care about the Enigma. I don't care. Uh, if you guys can make sure to like the video, I mean, it's only like 100 something likes. I mean, these type of days are what's going to make you a profitable trader. Being able to identify these conditions beforehand, being able to sit through them, not engaging with them, journaling it. Only through repetition will you be able to see these and not do anything. I mean, if you didn't take a trade today, I congratulate you. Give yourself a pat on the back. I think that's a huge progression. Thank you, Timmy. What's the macro mean? Macro is a 20-minute window with it can emphasis. It can, let's just put it this way, it will have a lot of volume or speed. It will seek a certain draw on liquidity during that 20-minute window. It's a set of instructions that will do something during that window. Doesn't mean always, it's not a guarantee, but it's something where you can look in that 20-minute window for the market to do something. I've heard once the liquidity from Asia and London sessions are taking the rest of your day is crap. Do you find that true in your experience? I mean, sometimes with all these concepts, and I get a lot of the basic same questions over and over again, all of these concepts are all going to be unique to the day that is happening. Each day is so unique. The template there's still the same characteristics and phenomenons that play out in the patterns, but each day is unique in and of itself. There's different templates. The higher time frame can be different. There can be the SMT is different. The intermarket relationships can be unique. All of it is unique. So you need to be, that's where you as the analyst come in, and you are the decision maker, and that's where time and experience comes into play, and you're the one deciding these things. But every single concept that ICT teaches is it's each day is going to be unique, so you have to be the one decision making. NQ's already closed in the new week opening gap, which is this neon shaded area here. So all I'm really doing is I'm just trying to gain a better perspective as to what price would want to do during this macro, because I'm not trying to engage with price until we dig into that macro. And if there is something, doesn't mean there will be. Isn't that crazy? I'm looking at the current viewers. Welcome for those who are new. As soon as you guys like the video, it's like the viewers spike up significantly, which is funny. YouTube algorithm. Yeah, AK. I mean, it's a good definition of it. So we have the 5-minute fair value gap in here. I mean, we've already taken out sell side multiple times. We've taken out buy side multiple times. The higher time frame order flow is bullish. So I'll see if we come into this macro what price is looking like and what it's doing. I mean, there's a small buy side liquidity pool resting up here from basically the opening session there. Anything underneath us would be discount arrays or something that we'd be seeking if we wanted to continue short. But I just don't particularly have enough evidence for this thing to continuously drop off lower. If I was not live streaming, I would have turned off my computer and I would have been gone by now. Slink Games. Do you think that we are forming initial consolidation on the 5-minute? I mean, we could. Market maker buy models are subjective, and it's the reason why I don't really preach on them or really teach them is because I think that you can be very successful without ever even knowing what a market maker buy or sell model is, because majority of the time, if you look for narrative first, you look for where the draw and liquidity is, you pair it with time, and then you pair it with your entry pattern, you'll probably be inside of a market maker seller buy model without even knowing it. And I mean, to me, people can be very skewed on their judgment of market maker seller buy models. Like, you could think this is a buy model or a sell model, and you completely get it wrong. And to me, what is more important is looking at the narrative, where the draw and liquidity is, and then matching time with your entry pattern. Because again, you'll probably be inside of one of those seller buy models without even knowing it, and it's fine. Because most of the time, people get market maker seller buy models completely incorrect, and they view it incorrectly, and they probably take a lot of losses. Unless I see a market maker buy model that's extremely clear to me and it's paired with my narrative and time, then obviously I'm going to utilize that information. But in here, I don't see a market maker sell buy model even at all. Correct, FEG. Right. A lot of the concepts that he teaches are up to the user and the preference, but to me, like standard deviations, 20, 40, 60-day look back, market maker buy or sell models, all of those are things that are subjective that you can look at. And to me, what's more important and what's easier to look for is the narrative, the draw and liquidity, and time. That's the easiest, simplest way to kind of put yourself into the market. Everything is at, I'm actually even silver bullet. Yeah. We've already closed in the new week opening gap. We've already traded to it already. So we just traded to it again and underneath it. I mean, nothing in here is where I'd really want to be shorting or doing anything. It doesn't mean for you, if I'm not talking about something or if I'm not saying I don't want to enter into it, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be, but that's just where I'm personally looking at the market and saying I don't want to do anything. About 3 minutes until the macro. As I said, if we really want to sell off in here today, then I would just be looking at this 1 hour inefficiency down here. So that's the only thing that I can see price would want to reach for. Um, 4 hour, we're inside of this inefficiency there. Daily, I really do like that in terms of for tomorrow. Anytime you get underneath an RTH gap, you can utilize that much like an inversion for value gap. You can utilize that in confluence with whatever is your trade idea in the first place. But for me, in terms of getting into this market, I mean, there's really nothing here. I mean, could have entered in here, but it's not something I'm fond of. Do I focus on risk to reward more than win rate? Yeah, I mean, you are in control of your win rate. I mean, you are, but you aren't. Like, I'm more focused on my risk, because that's truly in the end the only thing I can control. I'm semi in control of my win rate, but at times you're not. So, in the end of it all, the only thing you can control is your risk and how frequently you get into these markets. Is this my only screen? No, I have 4 monitors. I mean, this is my ultra wide that you're viewing. So we're moving into that macro. I just want to see now, with evidence now, and what I'm predicting is, with everything kind of moving in tangent with each other, ES is moving off lower. Same with YM. Bearish SMT, just looking at the profile, I would like to believe that we're going to want to drop off. Maybe not all the way down here, but there may be a short-term sell in here that we may find. And if it doesn't, then that's it. Is the ultra wide nice for trading? Yeah, I love it, because like how I have these dual split screen, it's basically like a monitor to each compared to like a, I think this is a 32-inch monitor. So I love it. I mean, the thing only cost me like 200 bucks. That's well worth it. If you don't have a lot of money, go to Goodwill and pick up an old monitor for like 5-10 bucks. I mean, I know most people say that you don't need multiple monitors. You only need a laptop. But I mean, if you really want to be successful in this, you want to be professional, I would advise you to get multiple monitors. No, Chris, I have a pretty powerful PC. I mean, my graphics card is pretty high end, same with my CPU. What screen space do you use for it? I'm not sure what that question really means. Yeah, Flatwood, a Facebook Marketplace, Goodwill, Salvation Army, whatever is near you. I mean, just go over there and call them and be like, do you have any monitors, whatever it is, as long as it's got a HDMI or a VGA, whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, AK, that's fine too, man. I mean, you can be successful with a laptop, but I mean, if you can have the availability to use multiple monitors and look at a bunch of different information, I don't see how that would be a con. What's my view average age? That I don't know. I know I'm like 90% male audience. No, I'm aware, Kevin. I know we're inside of this macro. Thank you, though. But really what I'm doing is I'm just observing, are we really going to want to sell off lower in here today? What do I view with the screens? I mean, on my left, like if I wasn't live streaming, I would have the 1 minute on my left monitor. I'd have a 5 minute on this section. I'd have a 15-minute here. Above me, where my mouse just went, I have dollar index. To the right of me, I have a vertical monitor, which is SMT. Vigo, not right now. That's actually a good question. If you think the draw on liquidity lower, would you take shorts based off the new week opening gap? So just having the new week opening gap there is not enough confluence for me, unless it's a fairly large new week opening gap. I mean, in this instance, there's nothing else in confluence with it. I mean, there's a small fair value gap in here, but if I had to, I would need a few other time frames to have it. If you ever have a large new week opening gap, it can be a really good confluence. I like larger new week opening gaps versus smaller in range. Thank you, Ness. Yeah, S&P is a divergence between correlated assets. So it will tell you which one is stronger or weaker, or if they're at a reversal point, they're turning. Yes, NQ, ES, Dow. So, I mean, there's nothing in here for me to want to take a short. I don't particularly have enough evidence that I want to push this thing lower today. It very well could sell off, but I'm not going to do anything currently. Bruno, good day. Hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you here tomorrow probably. What's going on, algo trading? What SMT? I mean, SMT, it's the same thing as like what fair value gap do I use? I'm looking at SMT on all time frames, but I mean intraday I'm looking at a 15 minute, a 5 minute, a 1 minute. I'm looking at those type of things. Question mark. What's up? What's up, bro? DXY is a choppy mess. Yeah. So I mean, if I had a gun to my head and somebody said you have to make a trade decision, you have to do something currently, I would elect to believe we're going to move lower. But I don't particularly know with confidence how far we're going to move off lower today. So I'm not trying to get into a trade where I'm only going for a little bit. I mean, I could go in here where I could, target 30 handles. I see the lower objectives where we could dig into this 1 hour. I just don't know with confidence if we're going to do that. Maybe look at the 5 minute, this last up close candle there is your bearish order block. Kevin, that stands for change in state of delivery. I think somebody asked how many members were in the charter group. About 2,000. Marvin, not particularly. And last week there was a small new week opening gap, and there's very large ranges. It's not always. If you constantly keep referring back to the new week opening gap over and over again each day, then that's a consolidational week, because you keep referring back to basically the weekly open. What I see, 1036 1 minute as a down close candle as a breaker. I mean, there's a high, a low, a higher high, and then a lower low. So yes, this is a bearish breaker. Like I said, my mentality is very, very patient, which is, I know it's a Monday, and if something is not screaming at me where it's super clear, it's easy, then I'm just not going to touch it, man. Inferno, no, I did not. Yep, there's plenty of ICT charter members who cursed them out, said the concepts don't work, they quit, stop paying for it, etc. I mean, that goes for any educator. I mean, because people don't want to take self-accountability, and they always blame somebody else. They blame exterior things besides themselves because they can't. They don't want to blame themselves. They don't want to come to the reality that they're the ones in charge, and they're the ones who are making all the mistakes. Which, see, that's a good question. Which days of the week do I like the most? I like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are my high probability days with data and statistics that I operate the best in. So that's the silver bullet in a nutshell. I mean, we still have about 10 minutes left of the macro. Which, as I stated, gun in my head, I would probably believe we're going to head lower. I just would rather not touch it. I'd rather not do anything. We want to get like a standard deviation tool out and just see. I mean, this is our dealing range. We could potentially move to there or here, but I would be favoring this level here, which is the 1 hour inefficiency, 17,385. Basically at 1 standard deviation. I mean, yeah, breaker has to sweep liquidity in order for it to be a breaker. So, yes. Do you prefer, do you trade afternoon? No. I said, as a newer trader, if you can keep your focus on just trading a 1 minute time frame window, or sorry, I worded that weird. Just a one time frame window, which is like the silver bullet, which is 1 hour time. You're eliminating a lot of losses and a lot of fatigue and a lot of things. I think most people come into this industry with a skewed confidence, thinking that they can trade at any time, all the time. It's just, it's a skewed way. Wolf, good to see you, brother. I'll see you tomorrow. Why not? Just as I explained there. I only need 1 hour of time. That's the only thing I need. I don't need to be trading all the time. I'm content with just 1 hour window of time. The reason I'm not trying to push these shorts so heavily is because I understand that we are still overall bullish, and we could have this intraday short setup where we move off lower, but I'm just not trying to get caught shorting something like this, especially when I can't clearly see a draw in liquidity. I mean, I see the 1 hour, but this very well could be left open. Doesn't mean that we're going to draw to it. So, and there's not much confluence as far as the 15-minute, the 5-minute. I mean, the 5-minute, you have that bearish order block in here, if you're looking at order flow. I'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate it. Yep. All right, Justin. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to log off here in a second. All right, Laurent. See you later. That's good. I like to see people logging off and not being glued to these screens, man. It's good. That's discipline. Can you review? I took a long at London Silver Bullet on IQ. I'm just going to pay attention to price right now. Sorry. So all I'm really observing is, do we want to take out the sell side in here, and then from there I'm probably going to get off. Of course, appreciate you all tuning in. I really do. If you're new here, subscribe. Yo, my brother. Easy. I'm doing good today, man. Feel good. Very patient today. Haven't taken anything. Haven't done anything. Hope you're doing well. Dollar index is still doing nothing this week so far. Of course, right? I'm also out waiting for the day log. Alright, appreciate it. I'll see you later tonight then. Good to have something to do after the stream. You study Brazilian Portuguese language. Man, that's awesome. Ozzy, appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow. If I had to take a short, where would my stop loss be? I mean, I don't want to say that because it feels like you're asking that because you're in a trade. And I'm not going to tell you where to put your risk. What are we trading, please? Oh, I'm not trading anything. I swear people come in here and literally ask, have I taken anything? Am I in a trade? What can I take? I mean, man, if you're in that mindset, that's the complete opposite of what these live streams are for. It's to learn, to educate you so you can make money on your own. So you can, I'm teaching you how to fish through my own experience. I'm teaching you how to do this so you can do this on your own. It's not a signal service. See, for those who don't know, I mean, Little Wazy, you're experienced and you've been in here for a long time trading. Like, look at somebody who's more experienced than what they just said. I mean, he's chilling out. He's waiting till Wednesday to do anything because he's probably looking at the economic calendar. He's looking at higher time frames. He's looking at order flow, and he's saying, you know what, man, I can wait for the first 3 days of the week, 2 days of the week, and I can just get active on Wednesday and Thursday probably, and be it. That's it for the whole week. While all of you newer traders are in here trying to push. It's like, man, only experience and pain is going to teach you these things, and unless you listen to the advice that I'm trying to give to you. Roberto, I'll see you later. Yes, Timmy, that is, you got to sit on your hands majority of the time. Ian Wright, awesome, man. Appreciate you being here. But I mean, am I correct on that, Wazy? I mean, all of us who have been around for so long understand that if you just wait for the highest probability times, which is waiting for the economic calendar align, waiting for higher time frame to align, and just waiting for time in and of itself, I mean, that's going to put you in the best spot. But as a newer student, I mean, I'm not trying to, shit on you or make fun of you. I'm just trying to give you advice that, an older brother or a father would give you. Is like, you have to be patient, man. You have to wait for these things. Exactly, Danny. Actually, I don't. It's so hard with text. I don't know if that's sarcastic or not, because I know you've been in here for a while. Yeah, Danny. I mean, why make this career even harder than it really needs to be? Awesome, man. I'm seeing that's what I like to hear is helping somebody with their mental capital. They're not spending it. They're not getting upset at the beginning of the week, and then you're trying to fight the rest of the whole week, because you're pissed off that you lost on Monday. You made a bunch of mistakes on Monday, and that's the reason why I don't really favor Mondays, is because if I make a mistake or if I take a loss that I shouldn't have on Monday, then that's going to carry out throughout the whole week, and I'm going to be looking for revenge, and I don't want to be doing that. Unless I see something on a Monday that's super clear, it's easy, then I'll take it. Otherwise, then I'm just chilling out. Exactly. The newer student's going to have to go through losses to really understand every day isn't a trading day. Yeah, I mean, that's a cold, hard reality of it. Yeah, I assumed accidental. It's just hard with text sometimes. But I appreciate you. So you can see here why I don't really want to push a short. I don't know how far, even if we're going to move lower today. Taken out sell side multiple times. Still an overall bullish institutional order flow. Yeah. End of silver bullet. End of that macro. That's it for me, man. There's nothing else that I'm going to be doing today. So, Emmanuel, I'm about to log off here. So, appreciate y'all tuning in. Appreciate all the new viewers, subscribers. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. And until tomorrow, good luck and good trading, everybody. Be safe.